Welcome back. We're back. Two fans, one Paul. Myself, David Quist, lovely co-host KB Kirk Brown. A little early this week. The season is wrapping up, KB. Crazy to say. I feel like it was summertime and getting excited for my team, who was a disaster once again in August. And here we are in, it's already January 2021 tomorrow when we drop the episode. And what a year. Lots of storylines as always, lots of drama. The college football is a soap opera, in my opinion, KB, but we love it. We'll throw it out to you, see how things are in Phoenix, and let's talk about our great Natty, and we can always talk a little bit about the season, but just feel free to go right in once you're done with your intro.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. Doing beautiful out here, seeing all the cold, brutal weather that you guys are doing, and it's sunny and 70 here, all the more thankful. But no, really good game last night. The only thing that I want to mention before we get into the game breakdown is Darian Mensah is now being sued by Duke.
Saw that.
Because he signed a multi-year contract which kind of forbids him from entering the portal. That could have domino effects. We'll see how that plays out. Universities and the NCAA in general haven't been great at in their suits, but we also saw Damon Williams enroll, and then the aftermath of that, and he's back at Washington. But this was didn't want to detract from that, but important news nonetheless.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Quist, you were very hopeful. I think I was just as hopeful, but at least Michigan put a product on the field that was, I don't know. I guess it wasn't the worst thing you've ever seen. Both of our coaches are fired, so we have a whole new outlook, a bunch of hope. Going into next season, as usual, full offseason to buy into all the hype and believe all the press clippings,
social media be cooking.
False they are.
Yeah.
They do. The AP poll, preseason AP polls already cooking for next year. AP polls for the closing are already done this year. So it was a fun season. I definitely think the most shocking season, a 10 seed versus a number one Indiana. Indiana going 16-0, impressive performance. Historic run that Signetti's had the last 2 years. Let's see if he can continue to carry that with all that they have to replace this offseason. But what they should already build a statue for him. As long as he doesn't implode with 0 wins the next 10 years straight, I think they have to build a statue regardless of what the outcome is. And he's too good of a coach not to have that legacy at IU. We'll see if anyone can carry it on post him. But nonetheless, let's get into the game. Really good Natty. Just like last year's Natty, came down to the last couple plays. Teams driving with an opportunity to get a stop or to stop the game. Quist, give me your quick thoughts, and then we'll go into kind of our key moments, key players in this game that kind of decided it.
Yeah, I had a TikTok. I mean, it was... Yeah, I felt like Indiana was in really control, right? It felt like it, but it was only 10-0. And obviously, Miami was leaning on that run game. Fletcher had that big 57-yard run. And another touchdown. And then really, Kurt Netty just said, fuck it. I'm going to put my balls on the table on 4th down, and if we don't get it, I'm going to trust my defense. They used their timeouts early, which I was questioning. They went 2 for 2 on 4th down. Charlie Becker coming out of nowhere down the stretch of the season, KB, 2 massive catches. Mendoza didn't, have an amazing game. That D-line for Miami was on the hunt. They played tremendous. And the difference is, the punt block, a missed field goal, and just balls by your coach. I don't think Miami played bad. Beck was okay. He had more yards than Mendoza, but for a while, KB, they shut him down. The second half was a lot better for Miami than the first half. And just a great game. I mean, I was entertained, and I just really liked this game. It's probably like top 5 or 6 natties since I was, locked in to watching these games. We've had a pretty good handful over the last 10 or 20 years. But no, I can go into more detail, but shout out to Tony, Charlie Becker with 2 big catches, Mendoza, ballsy, 4th and 5 draw, KB. That play needs to be talked about. Just incredible.
Broke 3 tackles, the dive.
Yeah.
I hope someone got a picture of that, because if anyone does that, they're going to go multi-platinum in the state of Indiana, because his dive at the end while getting hit hard, and he hangs onto the ball and goes through the end zone. That was incredible. Incredible.
Yeah, every running back in this game was running hard. I mean, shout out to Fletcher for Miami, Kalen Black and Roman Hemby. I mean, I really love Kalen Black, just how he runs. He's not the biggest guy. I mean, really built, but obviously shorter. And just great to watch the run. When you have running backs like that would go full tilt every time, you have to respect it. Both coaches did relatively well. Defenses standing tall. This is just a solid game. I had 51 points for my tiebreaker, KB, so I was really close to that actually. If Miami would have won, so it would have been interesting to see what happened. But we'd love to go back and forth here. I think it was just a great game. Mendoza, nothing special, but I think that's a Heisman moment in a national championship. And Kirk and Natty, like you said, a statue's deserving. The coaching was great. When they called their timeouts, they got the plays when they needed them, and sometimes that doesn't always happen. But love to hear more thoughts from you.
I know timeout that wasn't used by Miami. Defensive coordinator came out and said, hey, I really wanted to call timeout. That 2-by-2 look open, which means open means no one's guarding, so there's no tight end on the line of scrimmage holding either of your tackles in. They said that their primary play out of that in short yardage, I think it was less than 6 yards or 5 or less, is like draw like 90% of the time. I think they did it to Oregon in the regular season and they scored a touchdown or got it. And he said, I called the play out, right? That's the scouting thing, right? They know the signs, they know the tendencies, but it didn't get communicated on the field quick enough. He said he really wishes that we would have called the timeout. On the other side of things, right before the pick six for Carson Beck, Miami's hurrying up, continuing to, apply pressure, which I think teams should do more often. They waited till everyone got set up, called the timeout, get your nickel dime package on the field, that you know exactly what coverage you want to run, you know what play they want to run, and that immediately leads to an interception. So great coaching by Cignetti and his team there on those timeouts. But how many times we talk about it, Quist? This game came down to special teams. There was a 10-point swing on a blocked punt and a missed field goal. Going into the half, the missed field goal, the blocked punt, which was, I believe, the third possession for Miami. They had just held IU to 28 total yards in the quarter so far, or 26 total yards on 3 drives. They were definitely controlling the game. It was a 10-7 game, and that blocked punt completely shifted the dynamic. I think that was huge. I think Pat Coogan, who was the center who won the MVP, I thought he got dominated early, especially in the first half in pass protections. But when they started running the ball to try and ice the game, to try to take time off the clock, he played really, really well. He was able to set up the duo, the inside zone blocks. But yeah, it was a back-and-forth game, and it was really fun. There's probably 2 more things that I want to hint on. But, Quist, I want to get some more of your thoughts. I mean, is Carson Beck just that guy? And you sent me a text about what happened. I want you to kind of explain your thoughts and feelings on that and the ending of this game, the play that lost them the Natty.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of waiting for him to make a mistake, if I'm being honest. But he's played so much football. I mean, he's been in college for 6 or 7 years. And, he showed a lot of poise in the Ole Miss game down the stretch and made the throws. And, he was really good, too, here, finding space in the pocket. I do think that Indiana could have blitzed a little bit more. Sometimes he is more athletic than you think, but, bringing pressure is what makes guys inaccurate. And then, obviously, he throws a pick at the end. I don't know what the coverage is, but he just didn't see the guy, or he thought the guy was going to stay in the flat, like Kirk Herbstreit said. Safety's there for help. Corner cuts it off. And then he doesn't shake hands. Dude, you just played a great national championship game. You have nothing to hang your head about, and you're just going to walk off the field. I mean, obviously this year, KB, I don't know if it's the Louisville game. He was blaming the tight end or something. And then maybe
the blamed his receivers and he threw 4 picks.
Yeah. And then I believe when they lost the other game, he
SMU
said something about the coaching. So, is this who he is? Dude, you're the leader. You're a quarterback, which I think we all kind of know. That's the pseudo leader of the team. Not every guy is going to be that captain. But when you're a quarterback, it kind of comes with the job. And he's just kind of soft. I mean, Fletcher waited for Mendoza after his interviews to talk to him. That's the kind of leader you need right there. And Fletcher he had a great game. 17 carries, 112, 2 tutties. So I don't know what's wrong with Beck, if it's an ego thing or what, but your team is 1 possession away from winning the whole thing. You throw a pick. I know it sucks. It's the biggest stage. It probably doesn't feel great, but shake hands. It's not that hard to respect your opponent when the game's all said and done. So just a bad look again and a loss for him. And, I don't really know what his draft stock is or anything. I always think like this. I think character stuff like this never helps you. But yeah, just another weird vibe from him when you play a classic game and you make one mistake that leads to the game over. I don't think he was doing anything special either, KB. Like he was really struggling until the
few plays. He extended some third downs,
Yeah.
especially in the second half. I thought he made some plays in similar fashion to the Ole Miss game. It's not like he was playing a great game, but in the moments they needed him to, he delivered. Side note on the Fletcher, he did end up getting in an altercation I saw with an Indiana player. Allegedly, there were some words said. Look, every
During the
time
game?
something happened,
Or after?
No, after the game.
Oh, of course.
He swiped at an Indiana player, and people are like, "Oh, he said something about his dad that passed away." Look, unless you have certifiable, verifiable stuff, just stop with all that bullshit. It's unbelievable how many times people act, and people have to have an explanation instead of a guy's emotional, and he reacted.
Yeah.
Just the Beck thing. I mean, I guess it makes sense why he wore out his welcome at Georgia. Like, can you imagine that dude being in your QB room for 4 years and you falling short in the 2 years he's the QB after winning back-to-back natties?
That's fair.
I mean, he's blaming everyone. It's probably not surprised that he didn't get much media availability at his time at Georgia because he just seems like a real stinky person as an individual. I do want to kind of highlight two things that I thought were huge. Obviously, the pick at the end, but I thought in the first half, I thought Miami played directly into Indiana's hands. There was multiple times in this game, especially in the first half, where it was a short yardage situation and Miami with one less guy in the box. So Indiana had 8 guys in the box, which basically guarantees a free runner if you're fast and quick enough. And they only had 7 linemen to block, and they were still running into it in short yardage situations. I counted 3. They didn't get any of them. I think that was maybe an opportunity for them to audible to maybe a screen with how athletic your guys are, or put one of your guys on a one-on-one in those short yardage situations, because Fletcher did have a good game. He was 17 for 112, but if you take out his 57-yarder, he averaged 2.89 yards a carry on his other 16 carries, which I don't think is a reflection on him because he had some real good carries in there. It's just there's so many guys in this Indiana defense loops and stunts and moves so much that there's oftentimes free blitzers, free runners in the tackle spots if you can't get the ball outside. Malachi Toney played a really good game. I thought he had a bunch of impact plays. His basically wide stretch play where he scored on the toss in front was really good. But the one thing I kind of want to look back on too is just when it came down to the game, what mattered. Indiana continued to play cleaner football, and Miami played the football that they've played all season, undisciplined. They couldn't come down in the clutch moments with catches. There's a few replays. There were 7 penalties for 60 yards against this team, and there was a few missed penalties too. I can think of at least 2 roughing the passers that were missed. Whew. Yeah, the one cheap shot for sure, and then there's another one that was real late where someone dragged him down. Mendoza fought, but I really liked the fight that this team had. Both Miami and Indiana. I mean, this is just a really fun game, and it sucks that the ending is kind of like Beck didn't, hold his head high as a loser, which I think is sometimes, harder. You think about all the brawls that have, you think about all the brawls and all this stuff that has happened, like as a Michigan fan the last couple of years with losing and people fighting on the football field, after losses typically, and it's like, it's easy to win and be a dick to everyone, but it's harder to just take your lumps on the chin knowing you weren't better that day. And I think it takes more character, to not just be a sore loser, because you can be sore, but to not let the winners, don't let them get to you like that. And I know it takes like a huge monumental shift of the ego to kind of get over that, but it just sucks because we're talking about that instead of the terrific play that the cornerback Nate made to, drift that far back. And the funny thing is I heard that receiver after the game say, that was my fault. I should have looked for the ball. But I didn't hear any statements from Beck saying, that was my fault. I shouldn't have thrown in double coverage. Now, is that just because the media I consume? Possibly. But if that's one of the statements I saw following and it wasn't the QB taking, who's a 6-year senior who hasn't had to take a class in 2 years because he's graduated and just taking one class a semester so as not to be enrolled in the university,
The fact they can be a part-time student and play football, if that's how it works, is insane.
You should be even if you're a graduate, you should have to take 12 credits. I don't know how that's.
Well, grad school is different. It's like 6 or 9.
Oh, well, 6 or 9. But anyway, it's crazy. But Quist, any last thoughts on this game? I mean, Indiana, this is historic. I mean, the
16-0.
There's gonna be so many movies about this. Like, we're gonna be
Google me
in our 50s. We're gonna be in our 60s talking about. I was there, buddy boy. I watched them win that game. That was the greatest damn. They were the worst team in football. As they have like
worst
13
team
natties.
ever.
They have like 13 natties. They're the best team ever. They dominate the Big Ten. And we're like, back in my day, those guys were the punching bag.
I do have some more thoughts. Yeah, shout out Sam, our friend. He in our group chat I'm in, he said the 30 for 30 Google me will be crazy. If that is what they do for 30 for 30, that'd be a great name, knowing what he said at his press conference. And I think this whoever plays Kurt Signetti KB in that movie, if it's a Disney movie or whatever the hell it is, I hope they start with him like at Bama and then they go to Elon. Like, that is such a tremendous coaching story and journey. So I'm looking forward to that whenever that happens in the next 10 years, 20 years. No, but the game, going back to the game, I will say Indiana had some penalties that were very costly, and I was surprised. When it was 3rd and 1 or 2nd and 1, and they had the flinch, which pretty much led to them having to kick a field goal instead of scoring a touchdown at the end. And then the roughing the passer when Miami had the last drive. It was like 2nd and 15 after a false start, incomplete deep pass, and they hit him a little bit late. A little bit uncharacteristic from this team. They're usually really clean. So I just want to say that just because I know it's a bigger game and sometimes things just happen. And I know we were texting a lot about it, and with me and you, KB, and my other group chat, is there was a lot of potential defensive pass interference and a lot of potential holding. And some are more easier than others to call. You know, we would disagree on 1 or 2. So they just kind of let him play.
The refs weren't great in this game. I like that they let him play. But my problem is if D'Angelo Pons wasn't 5'9", he'd get called for more penalties. But it's like if anyone here watches the NBA, it's like when Alex Caruso guards the 7-footers and they like feel bad that he's guarding him, so they just get to foul the player every single moment, and because he's so small, they're like, oh well, what's the little guy supposed to do? That's how sometimes I feel like Pons is, because when the wide receiver's jersey is no longer
on a shoulder pad.
On his shoulder pads, that's probably a clear indication that he was grabbed. And look, there's grabbing all the time, so I'm not neither here nor there, but there's one key Indiana drive that was basically the same exact thing as what Pons did. He had an outside shoulder when he went for a back shoulder. There's probably even less grabbing there. But again, they missed one. I believe they scored a touchdown. It was that 4th and 5 drive anyway, so they scored. But they had Cooper, I think, was up the seam, and he got yanked from behind. Yeah. But also, no one can. That angle sometimes is really funky because it's the middle of the field, and maybe the refs don't see it. But anyway, it wasn't a greatly reffed game. I'm glad it didn't really cost anyone anything. But God, what a fun game! And Indiana winning is just so tremendous and so fun for football. And shout out Jeff, fan of the program. He's like, I can't stand either of these teams. Basically all the fans are bandwagons.
Dude, they were terrible. What do you expect?
That's my take on it a little bit. I'm not even saying he's
forever.
Wrong, but like no one, you can't be it's not bandwagoning if you don't if you attended the university, right, and you went there, but it's like, why the fuck would you go to a football game?
Exactly.
Like, no one goes to bad teams' football games. Like, no one. You guys can talk about whatever you want. Look, stadiums are empty all across the country except outside of rivalry week, and Indiana's no exception to that. Now, is there some reason why?
Great town.
Yeah, and I think something too is there's a lot of fans though that went to all those games that have been season ticket holders. So I'm happy for them. I think it can be fuck the fans that are never really cared about Indiana. Maybe they were Notre Dame fans would never change, but maybe if they were Purdue fans and they shifted their allegiances or they attended the university and now are bragging about it, sure. But there's definitely hordes of fans, millions of people that loved and appreciate the university that, got a lifelong wish fulfilled because of Fernando Mendoza and Signetti. And so I'm just, Michigan won a Natty a couple of years ago. I think this is the most happy I've kind of been for a non-Michigan Natty winner probably ever.
I was rooting for
in my
Indiana.
lifetime.
and I usually don't care. Like I wanted them to. I wanted them to win more than ever.
I wanted them to win. I was cheering for them, even though I had $100 on the line. And if Miami won, I had way better odds at Miami win. Like I had way better odds if Miami won this game, and I still didn't really care.
You had more than I did on the line.
Yeah. And I'd rather Indiana win because it's a cool story.
Yeah. Also, too, KB, to hit on it, like I think the Michigan team when they won, they were pretty old. I mean, they cheated too, but this Indiana team is older than
not the most important games, not the last four.
Fair enough.
Oregon's
I gotta get a dig in when I can, just like you do.
Worst win loss ever.
Thank you. I think this Indiana team was older than some NFL teams. Like they're like
no, that was a lie.
But they were. I mean, relatively speaking, for college football, this Indiana team was old.
They are old, but it's not that surprising. And also, they have an outlier because they have an Australian punter who's 28.
That's a little bit of a push there, eh?
Yeah, that shifts everything. I mean, they don't have like wildly old guys, right? We're kind of getting out of the COVID
24,
year, 10th year. Yeah, which is, and we've kind of seen a shift on that. I mean, you think of Will Howard, OSU's QB. He was an older guy that started for a few years. Fernando Mendoza, old guy that started for a few years. Carson Beck, older guy that started for a few years. Spencer Bennett, right? For
Stetson Bennett. Yep.
Georgia? Stetson Bennett for Georgia. He was JUCO for a few years, then started for 2 years and won it. So you're kind of seeing it's more about like having an older quarterback and an old offensive line.
For sure.
Than it is really like old position groups in general. But what you see is, do you have tremendous trench play? Do you have guys that are difference makers? Miami was the only team that could disrupt Indiana's passing game by having two menaces in Ruben Bain and Meritor or whatever his name is. They were really good. And honestly, the D tackle gave Pat Coogan all he could handle up the middle. He had a couple pressures. So the game is built. People want to talk about the change, the RPO scheme, all this, all that. Guys, the game is still won in the trenches. And you think about who's won it. You've had old guys in the trenches. For Michigan, they had a bunch of old guys in the trenches the year they won it. They had 3 or 4 fifth-year senior guys. They also had 2 future first-round draft picks that were younger that could give them a change of pace. You look at last year's Ohio State team that Jack Sawyer, that Tuial. They had a bunch of. They had the dude that got drafted by the Lions. They had 2 other older guys on the D-line. Their offensive line was pretty old. It's old guys in the trenches that can make sure that your young skill guys can shine. It's really the blueprint for the last 3 years is that's what it needs. You need a good decision maker that's not going to turn the ball over, a really good O-line and D-line, and then everything else can figure it out. And again, I don't want to make this special teams won this game. The game was won by 6 points. 10 points were translated negatively for Miami directly as a relation to special teams.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's the guy. I was going to talk about it earlier, but the effort on the wedge block on the far right side for Miami was terrible. And
87.
He cost it. Yeah. And every time they punted, they would roll out to the right, and the guy from Indiana just seemed like that's where I'm going to go. I mean, they got close once or twice a little bit to hit the wedge, but he barely even thought he was going to be there, and he just put his big paw up, and it was perfectly placed, his hand.
Yeah, I don't know if that was on. That's definitely a film thing because usually they're the line. The wedge guys move directly to kind of where the punter is. Mm-hmm. But 87, I texted this in the group chat. I was like, oh man, he's losing his scholarship tomorrow, just because there's no one else coming on the inside.
Yeah.
Usually you want to inside out, right? Because the fastest line is inside. And you have to clip that guy, though, especially the Aussie style where they're rolling out so far to the right. The one thing I will say, though, is we don't know if the Aussie punter rolled out too far to the right. Fair. Or if they're like, all right, here's the line, we take 3 steps to the right and then hold, and you should be behind us.
You got to touch the guy, though. You got to nudge him.
But, yeah, you do have to touch the guy. It's kind of one of those things where, hey, you can have the best laid plans, but you got to react to the moment. And you had a freaking piss missile coming right at you, and you kind of sort of flared at him, and it directly led to 7 points in the loss. So
yeah, for sure. And I just want to bring up Charlie Becker again, coming on late this season. KB, he is not a Cignetti guy. He's not recruited by him. He's the fastest guy on the team. I know Herb Street talked about it. He kind of doesn't do much in the beginning of the year and then just comes on late. Massive catches, touchdowns in the playoff, and then 2 massive catches, KB. The first one on the sideline, he reacted late and barely caught it. Hell of a catch. And I don't remember the other one, but he had 2 huge catches when things were getting tight for Indiana. And you just got to shout out a guy that didn't really get his shot right away. He was a special team guy, and then he finds a way to get in there when maybe guys are banged up and makes massive plays, touchdowns in 2 games to solidify a national championship. So you got to shout out a guy like that could have got maybe pushed out, was told to say, hey, earn your spot, earns his spot, and in the playoff itself, KB, massively paid off, and he'll probably be one of the top guys next to Marsh next year. I'm assuming he's going to stick around. So just a great guy to shout out. On a team where they play as a team. They play together. I can't say it enough. This Indiana team deserved to win. Miami did too, don't get me wrong. They played really well, but the story, it was a team of destiny, like I said earlier during the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, just to be clear, I mean, technically he isn't a SIG guy, but he is a true sophomore, so he was the first freshman class. He didn't commit to Signetti necessarily because who's their
Tom
old
Allen.
coach? I can't think of Tom Allen. I wanted to say Ryan, like Tom Ryan, but yeah, Tom Allen. He was the guy obviously previously there, and that's who he committed to like in 2023, and he upheld his commitment. But it's nice to see a sophomore guy popping in his second season over 800 receiving yards as a true sophomore. Is really impressive, and hopefully he can grow on that with the Hoover coming in. Fernando Mendoza's brother is leaving the team.
Yep.
He is looking for opportunities elsewhere to Georgia Tech, so it sounds like that was maybe in the works. But one of the key things, too, here is how does Signetti continue this? I mean, this is an opportunity to, have not just like a good 3-year streak, like one of the best 3-year streaks in college football. If you can win like another 10, 12 games, it'd be really, really impressive just in general. Anything else, Quist? I've spoken all I've wanted to about this. I'm super happy for Indiana.
That's 3 for the Big Ten in a row, baby. We love that, the Big Ten. I don't like Michigan, but we've won 3 in a row. Fuck the SEC and their money. I saw some meme Indiana would have lost 2 games in the SEC, like some back bar in the middle of nowhere. You know what? You had your chance. They went 16-0. The Big Ten's pretty good too. Better luck next year, as they would say in Happy Gilmore.
Well, they played an SEC team in the championship game, right? Like if the SEC is so good, they had to have played a.
Right?
Oh no, they didn't. Oh no, they didn't. Oh well, last year Ohio State would have had to play an SEC team in the championship, right?
They didn't.
Oh. Well, the year before that, certainly, Michigan played an SEC team in the championship.
Former Pac-12 team, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay. No, I mean the SEC has tremendous football. I'm not saying anything against them. It's just the rhetoric's funny.
People like Paul Feinbaum make you just shut up.
Yeah, who cares about Indiana? No, you don't care about Indiana. You personally, your stooges at ESPN don't care about Indiana. You can't sell Indiana. That's why you aren't rooting for it. This should have been the best storyline ever. Miami finally getting back after so many years of failure. A guy that went to the university, coming back to the university after leaving Oregon, a premier school that has unlimited funds, goes to Miami, has a 10 seed, defeats a bunch of really good teams, including the defending national champions from last year. Mm-hmm. Indiana, the worst program ever. Being the number 1 seed, running a 16-0 gauntlet and winning the Natty. And they're like, I don't know why anyone would be how do you talk about this? It's your job to create these storylines. It's your responsibility. But because it isn't 2 SEC blowhards that you've been sucking off for the last 30 years, it suddenly isn't interesting. It's not eventful. No one cares.
I haven't watched ESPN during the day in a long time.
If you can't get up for this, that's a you don't care about college football problem. If you weren't watching that game with, rapt attention last night, that's a you problem. That's a you don't care about college football problem, which is okay, but then don't complain about it.
I didn't see anything, did you? I'm just saying I saw a meme tweet. I don't know what.
I saw a bunch of. No, he said that no one's going to care. It's a cute Mickey Mouse story, but everyone's worried about the NFC
Did Paul
championship.
Feinbaum say that? Or Paul Feinbaum, I'm assuming?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
This guy's
NFC,
a weenie.
AFC.
Weenie Hut Jr.? Yeah, weenie.
Yeah, he sure is. Last thing I will say, and friend of the program, Jeff, again, he mentioned this about the 12-team playoff. I like the playoff. They're fun. I do think there are conversations that the regular season is a little bit devalued.
For sure.
In regular season success. And one question I think we should pose this is the value of this extended postseason outweigh the loss of intensity and fight in the regular season? Do we like that difference? Are we okay with that? And that's a question I think we all have to answer. Indiana obviously went 16-0, but they didn't play a single Power 4 team out of conference. Ohio State didn't the year before that. Michigan didn't the year before that. The last 2 champions haven't played a Power 4 team out of conference. Is there any bones to that? The bye teams, the teams that are supposed to be higher seeds, are 1-7 combined now. And so is regular season success actually helping you in the postseason? Is there anything there? Just something to contemplate. Not going to answer that question tonight, but want everyone to kind of sit and chew on that as we go forward. But that's all I have to say. Appreciate everyone for listening. Another successful season. We start the podcast and the Big Ten starts winning everything. Coincidence? I think not. Appreciate everyone as always. Continue to send ideas. Please send ideas so we have a full offseason to kind of unpack, unload. And it's gonna, probably shouldn't have said unload, but let's go. Let's have a good offseason, boys. Go Blue.
Yeah, Kiwi, I think for me, I like that question. We can always dig deeper as we go. I do think the second round should be at home. I think there's too many bowl games, and I think the amount of money that can, if Michigan State had a second round bowl game or a second round game, I mean, amount of the money that bring, I know it'd be cold, but the money that could bring to the city in the university, I think matters, and that's a cool experience. As much as I like the bowl games and everything, but I think semifinal and then obviously you can figure out everything else. They can always sponsor it still. But yeah, what a season, KB! What a story! Shout out to Indiana, 16-0. Feels good to be 3-0 in Bowl Mania. And sorry, KB, you got to get me one of these times. But we'll take probably a week or so to think about things, and we'll be back talking about anything college football, anything other sports. Obviously, college basketball, our teams will be playing soon, KB, I think in a week or so. Both teams are wagons right now. But thank you guys as always. Looking forward to the hype and being optimistic for my team, obviously, as we get closer to summer and the fall. Thanks, everyone, as always, for the listens. Make sure to rate, share, tell your friends, your grandpas, second cousins, whatever you guys do down south about us, because we are out there. And we have 1 million views on TikTok, so it's just the way it is. But one more time before to kick off the Natty, or to get rid of the Natty, whatever. I can't speak anymore, KB. It's one more big Go Green.